Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show. I'm going to do something I haven't done in a very long time, talking about news coming out of the comic book world. And to join me in doing that is my friend Travis, who I have muted and can't find the unmute button.
I'll unmute myself there.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Hey, Travis, how you doing?
Hey, good.
Folks,
It's a learning curve.
I am not a professional YouTuber doing this stuff. I just like to do this kind of stuff every once in a while. I always invite Travis on because he is a professional with this, and he's going to hold my hand, so to speak, as I work my way through this. But like I said, we are here to talk about the breaking late news, as I like to call these episodes. And there's been a bunch of stuff that's gone on in about the last month or so. There's some things that I have listed to talk about here that it's put in roughly chronological order, including something that was just announced days ago, right, Travis?
2 days ago, all right?
2 days
Something
ago,
like
yeah. But we'll see what we get to, what our thoughts are about this. Is mostly just a bunch of bullet points and then commentary from the two of us. So this should be fun. And we're hoping that we will do this more or less on a regular basis, right, Travis?
Right. Well, it should have been last, a couple of weeks ago, right? We were going to do it at the beginning or the end of the month or something like that. And
Yeah. But you had to go, you bastard. You had to go to Emerald City Comic Con without me.
I did. That was the plan too. Without Eric, I got to pick up all those Brave and the Bulls with Teen Titans in them because you weren't there buying them out from underneath me. See,
I already have those, buddy.
I know you do because you bought them out from underneath me last time we were there.
There's no competition there. Travis went to Emerald City Comic Con. I missed out for the second year in a row, which really, really burned me. But
right,
cons are expensive, and the money wasn't quite there this year for us. So I missed out. I did, Travis, though I told you about this, but Sci-Fi Wire partnered up with Emerald City Comic Con this year, and they live streamed a bunch of mostly the special media guest panels. Mm-hmm. So I at least got to watch those. And that was nice. There were a few, like there was a spotlight on Terry Moore that I got to watch, which I was happy to see him talking about his Return to Strangers in Paradise book, which is really good, by the way. And but I missed a lot of the other panels that I would have normally gone to. But instead of me talking about something that I did not attend, let's turn it over to Travis here. Travis, give us Mr. Oddfellow's thoughts, brief overview of Emerald City Comic Con. How was it? What did you like? What didn't you like? All that good stuff.
As far as that live casting thing, so people don't know, the Seattle Convention Center is a bunch of floors on one building, a sky bridge that crosses a road, and then a bunch of floors on another building. I don't know how it was last year, but this year everything was completely separated from each other. So Artist Alley was on the 6th floor, which is kind of an odd, it used to be that it was kind of, when you went into the convention, it was kind of the middle floor. It was the place you walked into. That's not the case anymore. Now it is, when that middle floor that you initially walk into is more of the merchandise. It's the comic book sellers. It's all the other, Funko Pop, paraphernalia, all that kind of stuff is on the main floor. And at the very back of the main floor is where I believe they were doing all the live casting from, a lot of the live casting was from back there. So I missed a lot of it, and there was stuff going on there that was no place else. But I happened to be walking through there because that's my least favorite part of the con. I just don't really, I go and hit the comic book part, but as far as the other paraphernalia, I generally don't wander through that much. The rest of my family does. But I can hear all this cheering and stuff at the back of the place. I'm thinking, okay, nobody could be selling some piece of pop culture that's that exciting. So I ended up going back there and found out that that's where they were doing a lot of that at. I liked the fact that the floors were much more separated this time. It wasn't a mix. I didn't have to walk through. So I didn't have to walk through the walls of Funko Pop, which I have no interest in. And people stop and don't move and stare at the walls of Funko Pop stuff. So it's hard to get around. Having that separated from Artist Alley was awesome. I think that the merchandise crap should be on the 6th floor and the main floor should be comic books because that's why I'm there. I answered their survey a couple days ago and I'm like, I don't care about any of this stuff. It's all about the comics, dude. That's why I'm there. I enjoyed it. I enjoy it every time I go. Some of the stuff was lackluster. I wasn't really excited about the panels. I went to the Vertigo panel. I went to one of the Marvel panels. I only went to one Image panel. It was kind of a zoo. I miss Brothers. I miss David Brothers being the host, the MC to kind of keep things moving and whatnot. He recently left Image, and boy, he can run those shows really well. Let's see. Yeah, I went to the DC stuff too. I'm trying to think. Black Crown went to the Black Crown panel. That's imprint out of IDW that Shelley Bond is running. It was awesome because if you've ever been to an old Vertigo panel, she's pretty excited and she engages with her creators really well. So that was a fun panel just because they were all engaged in being there and talking about what they were doing and whatnot. Artist Alley was cool. I always love being able to wander and talk to creators and whatnot, and had some good conversations with a few creators and stuff. It was an odd mix of creators this year, though. It felt dominated by colorists. That was what was there was colorists, and that's cool. That they're getting, some of the limelight. They were considered guests of the show. Some of the colorists were, which was cool. But yeah, there were, I don't know. It didn't seem like there were a lot of writers. The usual people that you would expect to see were around, now,
people. When you say that, what about the Portland crowd? Because there's a huge contingent of comic book creators in Portland. So
what are they? I can't remember their old name. Periscope Studios, which is not what they are now. They're Heloscope or something else. They're an art studio that's got Steve Lieberman in it and Dewey and a bunch of them. They're there, of course. That group, but and I know Bendis was around because I was on a panel that Bendis was at, but I don't remember seeing him anywhere on the floor. But when I say huge crowd, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Matt Fraction, Greg Rucka, all those people. None of those people were there. Well, Kelly Sue was there one day at a booth because one of the jewelry booths was selling non-compliant necklaces and whatnot. So she was there to kind of help pitch that. So it was weird from that perspective because it just seemed like the people I always see, which maybe that's fine because I always see them, so I don't need to talk to them or whatever. But I like talking to those people. They're all gone. They weren't there. But it's so huge, and every year you think I can't get any bigger than what it is, and it's huge. I was 4 full days. I went Wednesday, so I was there for the beginning of Thursday. On Sunday, I was so tired of walking around and whatnot that I walked onto the con floor for about 45 minutes, maybe an hour, and then left to go home because, of course, I had a big drive home in front of me anyway. But I was done anyway. Coolest part, as always, lately for me going to the con is getting to meet other comic book friends, people that maybe I have not, actually in person, in the flesh met. And that's always the cool thing to do, is to meet those people from either Twitter or from YouTube that, I got to meet people that have been who have hosted and been on my shows a whole bunch, for the first time, so that was cool to get to talk with those people and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I spent way too much money, went into the place going, I'm not spending all this money and whatnot. And then probably spent more money this year than I have ever spent. So,
and how much original art did you purchase this year?
I'm not buying any original art. When I go to this show, I bought 3 pieces.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
You have to show me those sometime.
I will. Well, I'm gonna do a Emerald City Comic Con video here pretty.
Oh, good.
pretty
Okay,
soon,
good.
So.
Yeah, so people could go to YouTube and type in Oddfellows Thoughts.
Yep.
And get to Travis's channel. And of course, I have a link in the description for this video as well to that, so people should go check that out. And well, I was going to say something else, but I have a follow-up question for you about Emerald City Comic Con.
Sure.
So you mentioned how it feels like how much bigger can this get?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like it always gets bigger, right?
Yeah.
So I know from our discussions about Emerald City that and this is full or 4 full days, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yes, from
Okay.
10 to 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
8 if you're on the right panels, you can be there until 8. Yeah.
Yeah. So 4 full days of being in Seattle in the convention center, and 40 million billion people are going to this con or whatever. I don't know what the numbers are, but a lot of people are going to this con. I have complained about this, and which is one reason why I didn't go 2 years ago, which is like too much. It's too much. And I know that you have talked to me about, how big and how daunting it is to go to a con of that size. So why go back this year? Because you missed a year or two as well,
last
right?
year. I skipped last year also.
Oh, just last year. Okay.
Yeah. I've been kind of going every other year, kind of a thing, is what I've been doing. Because I'll go and I don't need to go again. And then the year I skip, there'll be all this, what seems like cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
And then I go, and then after I've gone, I go, I'm not going again. Which is why I said as I'm driving home through the snow and horrible stuff, because of course this year the con was so early in the year, it's still, if you have to drive over the Cascade Mountains, it's kind of hairy. I said I'm not going next year.
So the plan really should be, I like this every other year idea. And I know that Emerald City, they fluctuate between beginning of March and towards the end of March in their schedule.
2019 is the middle. It's what, the 14th to the 17th, something like that. Yeah.
So I guess that's the thing to do, at least for those of us who have to drive over the mountain pass to get to Seattle, is to skip every other year and just go to the later one, which I hope next year I get to go, but we shall see. So yeah, but given our
why do I go?
Age,
why do I go? I mean, because it's there's all those sparklies and right. There's all the sparklies there that I have to go, and
despite 4 days, which as I was going to say, in our advancing age, Travis,
yes.
I realized this last year when I went to Rose City Comic Con, which is only 3 days, 3 full days. 3 full days is, I think, my limit. If it's another day, no, thank you. It's just too much. As much as I love it, as much as I love to go and see all the goodies and see people and experience what con is, that's just too much. But anyway.
Well, I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel bad for missing Sunday, because I walked the entire floor.
Yeah.
Easily. So,
well, I guess that's a nice thing about having 4 days, is that you can do that. You could pretty much see everything, right?
Thursday was great, other than there were some creators who hadn't gotten there yet from either plane delays or they just weren't bothering to come until Friday. Thursday was awesome because only those of us privileged enough to be able to get off from work, right? You were there, so it wasn't nearly so crowded. I mean, so that day was great to go and get stuff signed, to do the stuff that I knew I'd be standing in line for. That was nice. So, yeah.
Okay, so thank you for that brief overview of Emerald City Comic Con.
Sure.
Despite our old man crankiness about cons and length of time and all that stuff, cons are awesome to go to.
Yes,
I still love to go to it, even though I complain about tired feet and too long of a con, and maybe even too expensive, but it's still worth it to me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I don't feel bad about it.
Sure. Yeah. Were there any, since we are here to talk about some news coming out of the comic book world, was there any significant news coming out of Emerald City Comic Con that caught your eye?
I heard more than once. Wait until WonderCon, because we can't announce it here because we've been told by our bosses we can't. That was irritating.
And hasn't that been? I mean, when we first started going to Emerald City Comic Con, what, 6-7 years ago, something like that?
7 years ago, something like that. Yeah, 8.
Yeah. I mean, they actually did announce things, and I mean, not much, but they did announce stuff. And
it feels to me like, it feels to me like, to some degree, with DC moving to the West Coast, now WonderCon is like the con to announce, because it's their close con, right? It's the con that's close to them besides San Diego. So I think they get the privilege of that. Whereas Emerald City, because I own Emerald City Comic Con, before they were on the West Coast, Emerald City Comic Con is the big con beyond the Nerd Ball, beyond San Diego Comic Con. It's the big one on this side of the United States. And so I feel like it got some attention because of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it was DC creators. It was Dan Didio told us we can't announce anything until WonderCon. Yeah. Thanks for that. Of course, we'll be talking about it some later on a little bit. They not really, but kind of went more in depth with the Vertigo did with the Sandman stuff that's coming up. They had a video to show us of Neil Gaiman, basically giving his sales pitch for the Sandman universe thing. The Black Crown imprint from IDW, they announced 2 new books at the con. This was their announcement for that. Euthanauts and House of Muck, or is it Muck House? It's House of Muck, I think is the title of it. The Euthanaut one is a Teenie Howard written, and Rosenberg, I want to say, I can't remember off the top of my head, the artist on it. It looks gorgeous. It's basically it sounds to me like a story of life after death. Basically that after death is kind of like, space, the next frontier. It was pitched kind of like Star Trek. It sounded to me like Star Trek, except it's Star Trek for your soul after death, kind of a thing. The art on it, which sucks that I'm talking about the art, I can't remember the artist's name, was gorgeous looking. The stuff that was up, that they had some cool 2-page spreads and some other character sketches and whatnot. It looked really cool. I'm excited for that, to check that out. House of Muck is written by Chris Sibley. I'm not sure I'm saying his name right. Sabala, thank you. And once again, I cannot remember, because the writers were there and the artists weren't there. So that's one of the reasons why I can't cement in my head. There's been some previews of that. If you've been reading the Black Crown stuff in the Black Crown Quarterly, there's a little snippet of it. It's basically like, I can't remember the official term for it, but there's some term where you can have a group psychosis where one person is having some sort of psychotic episode and can influence the people around them into basically experiencing along with them. And that's kind of what this is. It's a family traveling. They start out in Oregon, in a small town in Oregon, and they're going to be traveling across the family is traveling across the United States, trying to right the wrongs of the world in some sense or another. But it's really them just having a sounds to me like one giant head trip as they're going across. And there's twin girls. One of them's name is Dylan, and she's like the sane one, and she's kind of rolling on with everything because, well, the choice do you have when you're a 10-year-old and your family's off, doing nutty stuff? You kind of go along, kind of a thing. So that one might be interesting too.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
Yeah. That's it as far as news that I caught on any of the things I was on. I was on another panel, so I missed the panel which I would assume might have been Marvel telling us anything new, but I don't think anything new came out of it, because after I got home, I kind of looked around to see if anything came out of it. I don't think anything did. I thought, because that maybe they'd slip in some more of their new stuff that's coming up, but I did not see anything there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Okay. Well, okay. So let's jump back earlier than Emerald City Comic Con. I don't have dates for all this stuff for when it came out, but so I went through my Twitter feed and I went through various websites, just looking for things that caught my eye, and I wrote those all down. So I'm going to touch on some of these, and Travis is going to, I'm sure, bring up some other things as well. But we're just gonna talk about those things. And the first thing that I wanted to mention, and I just realized, Travis, that a lot of it is DC centric. Now that I'm looking at my entire list of things, kind of tells you where my bias is. But I don't care. It's my show. So the first thing I wanted to touch on is DC had announced, like, was it the day of the Super Bowl or the day before? I can't remember now. They're going to launch DC Ink and DC Zoom, which is this a bunch of titles that are aimed at younger readers. Do you remember that when they announced that? Because it was like this weird thing that they just kind of put out into the ether, and it was like eclipsed by everything else that was going on that day. And I swear it was during the Super Bowl.
Maybe it was. I don't remember, but it was kind of it was something like that. I don't know if it was the Super Bowl, but there was a lot of other stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that was weird timing on their part, but anyway, so they're gonna do this line of books called DC Ink, which is geared towards the YA audience, and DC Zoom is focused on middle grade readers. So they have a few books for DC Ink. They have the initial lineup, at least back then, included a Harley Quinn book by Mariko Tamaki. Mm-hmm. And Steve Pugh, and Mira by Daniel Page. So those are the two that I saw. But I wanted to mention that because I just think it's great that DC, and I mean, with considering what we're probably going to end on, they're running the gamut between young readers and more adult fare, mm-hmm. and everything in between. And I just really appreciate the fact that they are trying to get all ages interested in comic books, in their comic books. And the book market seems to have taken off. Comic books sold in the book market, especially towards younger readers. We have the whole DC Superhero Girls line of books, which have been tremendously successful for DC. I know my granddaughter Madison absolutely loves those. Mm-hmm. And every time they release a new book, I buy one for her, and she just devours it. So, maybe I don't know how. I don't know all the insider stuff here, but I assume that the success of that line may have prompted them to do more, which results in these two imprints. So, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean that was my immediate thought is that clearly the book market, here in the United States anyway, like the Scholastic, books to kids kind of things, the Ms. Marvels, the Supergirl stuff, that is huge. I mean, that's a huge market, and I think that's these guys are businesses. That's clearly what's driving it. It's more that than I think than our theory of, oh my God, we need to get kids reading comics because otherwise, when I get another 30 years older, if I make it that far, there won't be comics left for me to read because no one's reading, the younger crowd isn't reading them anymore. Kind of a
thing. Very cynical of you, Travis.
Yes, I know it is, right? But I don't know. I think that's what it is. But at the same time, I think it's awesome because it's, once people find out, right? Once people find out that you read comic books, they'll suddenly have some niece, nephew, little kid, little sister, whatever, that thinks they're into comic books. And they come to you and they go, what do I get my 7, 8, 9, 10, 13-year-old kid? And you're like going, because now you're trying to filter, what's age appropriate, what would be interesting to a kid that age, what would I recommend that's not going to offend the parents depending on what their sensibilities are on violence and sexy posed characters and all that kind of stuff. So having these is awesome, I think. I mean, I think that's great because that gives me, I can go, well, there's this whole line of books. I maybe haven't read them myself, but I plan on it. I plan on picking some of those up because I want to see what it is. Because I'm always curious about that kind of stuff anyway. So I'll be checking some of it out, but I'm happy from that standpoint because guaranteed that's what happens to me. Once people find out I read comics, then suddenly I'm the go-to person for that. And I'm like, I've got two nephews who are, they love all the superhero stuff and whatnot. And so their mom, my sister-in-law, is always calling me and asking, what should they be reading? Should they be reading this? They think they're into Suicide Squad. What should they read? Kind of a thing. Well, you're 6. You can't go see the movie yet. What comic book do I recommend? So getting something else that's somewhere in between all that stuff will be great.
See, this is where I think this just occurred to me as you were talking. This is where DC and Marvel in particular should really fortify their backlog, back issues. No, what's catalog? Their back catalog. That's the phrase I wanted to use. Especially in digital, and I know how you feel about digital, but the look on Travis's face there for the people who are just listening. But get that back catalog from I'm thinking, because we grew up reading comics in the 80s essentially. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of all ages, especially superhero stuff. But there was a lot of different subgenres going on, even in the superhero world at that time. The DC and Marvel, especially, both really kind of experimented with their books and just kind of put stuff out there and see what stuck. But I'm thinking, all ages titles, like Blue Devil and Firestorm, and things like that, Legion of Superheroes, New Teen Titans, right? Mm-hmm. If they have all that stuff available, especially for younger people growing up reading digital comics now,
right?
Those would be perfect for those kinds of recommendations.
Right.
You could steer them towards Comixology or the companies directly to be able to purchase this stuff, and they have all this stuff they can read on their tablets. So I don't know. I think they're missing out there with some of that stuff.
For sure, because that's kind of what I did. I kind of went, well, there's all this old stuff. You don't read the new
I figured you did.
Current stuff. You don't read the current stuff because that's a little edgier, as far as that kind of stuff. But then, not that there isn't subject matter in that older stuff that's
Oh yeah.
But it's still handled differently than it's handled now. So, yeah. But you got to find it. That's the other side to some of that stuff. So.
All right. So you had mentioned Brian Michael Bendis before because you said he was at Emerald City, and
he hosted the Writers DC panel.
Oh, see, I would have loved to have gone to that.
And we were all worried because and I talked to other writers who were going to be at that panel, and it's like they were kind of like, oh man, it's just going to be the Bendis panel, right? Because if he's on the panel, everybody's going to want to know everything about what he's doing, not what anybody else is doing. But he came and he hosted it because he goes, I've been a DC employee for like 2 weeks. It'd be pretty stupid for me to be saying on this panel talking about writing for DC when I haven't. So yeah, so it was kind of cool. He asked the questions of them, and it was interesting as far as that goes. So
well, that reminds me because one of the creator panels that Sci-Fi Wire did stream was an interview with Brian Michael Bendis. So I did get to watch that. So they did focus on him exclusively on that.
Sure. Even on his.
Right. Yeah. But even during that, he was always trying to point towards his collaborators on the books that he's going to be, or has been working on and what's to come. And Bendis is always like that. He's always supportive of everybody he works with. But we're kind of talking around it. But the big news about Bendis, of course, and everybody should know this by now, but I wanted to talk about it with you in particular, is that he is coming to DC. And, well, he is at DC now, and he in fact is going to be taking on Superman and
the whole line.
Yeah. So, well, wait, is it the whole line or is it just the Superman-centric books, Action and Superman?
All right, that's the whole line, isn't it? Pretty much.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
Okay, so yeah, yes, he's taking that, and everything else that's in the line doesn't exist anymore.
Okay.
There's no Super Sons. There's no Supergirl.
No Supergirl.
So yes, he has the whole line.
Well, okay. If you look at it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've told you this, privately, Travis. Bendis is one of those. He's one of my favorite writers in comics, and has been for years and years and years. And he was always one of those writers that I wished would play in the DC sandbox. And I finally got my wish. Now it's, what does that mean, and how is that going to impact everything? And it's just like, holy crap, what's Bendis going to do? But what I honestly I don't know, Travis. How do you feel about Bendis, just generally speaking, and then how do you feel about him coming to DC and taking on Superman?
Let's see, Bendis in general, I am. He's fine. I'm not like he's not like my He's not my favorite. I mean, there's stuff of his that I've read that I've really liked, and there's other stuff I've read that's gone, okay, that's just another run of the mill whatever. I mean, he's been around long enough. He's been around long enough that it feels to me like he clearly, I mean, I think Bendis for me is kind of like Snyder. I think you could take their names off of the book, and by the time I've read 20 to 40 pages, I know who it is I'm reading. It's either them or it's somebody aping them. Because they have a style. So yeah, I mean, I've enjoyed Daredevil stuff is awesome. There's stuff that he's done that I've really, really enjoyed. And there's, like I said, there's stuff that's like, whatever, kind of a thing. So that's my general on Bendis. I'm curious. As soon as we heard the news, I'm like, ooh, this is gonna be interesting. I'm curious to see what he does, because he has been Marvel. I mean, not just work for Marvel. He's been Marvel. I mean, Jessica Jones wouldn't exist, right? That's his creation, basically. Right. There's just stuff. I mean, so he has been such a part of Marvel for however many years he worked there that him shifting gears will be interesting. I'm curious to see what he does, because I'm assuming, it's all this other stuff to work with. He's not just going to do Marvel at DC. He's going to do something else, hopefully. And so I'm excited about that. Him as a creator to come into this fresh to do something different. So he's doing Superman. I'm very hot and cold on Superman. I'm not a big Superman fan, though I have been reading Superman, the Superman title, since Rebirth. I've been reading it, largely enjoy it. I really like Tomasi and Gleason. So
yeah,
I'm not really excited about the fact that they've been kicked off the book.
Yeah,
to make room for Bendis to write all of frickin' Superman. Mm-hmm. So not excited about that. And I'm not excited about the fact that Super Sons is gone. It feels like Super Sons is gone because Bendis is writing the whole damn line. I don't know if that's the case. And Tomasi keeps saying,
do with sales?
And no, it's selling really well.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's selling really well, and it's selling really well in trade, and it's a book that's sellable to middle school through whatever. Tomasi says Cool Art Jets. It's going to be around. He kind of floated. There's a crossover with Hanna-Barbera title. The Super Sons are going to team up with the Blue Falcon and Dynamite.
Oh,
single issue. So that'll be fun.
I gotta get that.
That'll be fun. And Tomasi keeps acting like there's something else afterwards. So we'll see what that is. It sounds like that. And I really like this new Superboy. I like John Clark. I like his personality. I like him as a character quite a bit. Sounds like he's going to survive the Bendis thing. So I'm okay with that. So yeah, my thing also is I'm going to keep getting Superman. I'm not getting into the other titles. I have zero interest in another origin of Superman. The Man of Steel BS that he's going to put out. That to me, that makes me so angry. Oh, I'm the new writer, so I need to tell the origin story again. Oh, please. You can't figure out how to put your own hooks into whatever without having to do an origin story. So I'm not getting that at all. That irritates the hell out of me. I will bitch about that thing the entire time it comes out because I'm a cranky old comic book reader. But I'm also worried about him owning the entire Superman line, because how easy is it going to be for those storylines to bleed over into each other? And I don't want to buy 2 Superman titles. I don't.
Mm. You're not getting Action Comics now.
No, I'm not. I dropped Action Comics fairly early after that first arc of the Doomsday, and then we got into the who's the real Clark thing, and I'm like, whatever, and dropped it. I wasn't enjoying it as much as Superman.
And that's my take on it as well. I'm only sticking around for 1000, and then, or that was my plan, and then they announced Bendis taking stuff over. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. But okay. Well, I'll tell you what, Travis, I am going to get the Man of Steel series. Of course I am. Yeah, but I
already own the Man of Steel, and I didn't like it.
It's 30 years old, man. I mean, it's time for a refresher. but no, I totally agree with you. It's like, why they don't do that with Batman? They don't go back and tell a year one story again and again and again.
Thank God they touch on his origin enough as it is. But yes.
Exactly. But they do it in the you're talking about in the book, right? They don't. I mean, we haven't, since Frank Miller did year one, which was in the main book.
Yeah.
I mean, they talk about it as if it was a standalone thing outside of that nowadays. But it wasn't, unlike Man of Steel with Byrne.
Right.
So I totally agree with you. They don't need to do that. But I'm very excited about Bendis coming in. I'm very excited about him playing
awesome.
in with DC and Superman. It's like, I love Superman. People who are just listening to this don't know, but I'm wearing one of my Superman hoodies because I freaking love that character. So anyway, so that's Bendis. I will let you know how Man of Steel is. How about that? I'll tell you what you're missing out on.
Sure.
So okay, so if we're talking about Bendis going from Marvel to DC, let's turn it around and talk about Marvel's fresh start. As Sergeant America said in the chat box here, preach about all that Marvel goodness. Travis, are you going to preach? Let's hear it, brother.
I don't know what to say about it. I mean, I went to, like I said, I went to one of the Marvel panels and talk. It wasn't a panel where they talk about anything that's basically finishing the stuff that they're doing now. Nothing new out of that. But so news has slowly been trickling out, right? About, here's a book we're going to do. Here's a book we're going to do. Well, I take it back. The writer for Captain Marvel was there, and they did mention that they would be writing the Captain Marvel is getting a fresh start, and they were going to tell her origin story, which of course immediately had me going, ugh, because it's out there. Oh no, this is the untold, never heard. It really hasn't been addressed. I'm like, yes, it has. It has. So, but I don't know. There's stuff I'm curious about. But it's, like I said, it's such a slow trickle that I don't. It feels to me like, and I know this is, people who are familiar with listening to me talk will just criticize me as being somebody who likes to pick on Marvel. But right now, Marvel still feels like this lost ship at sea. I don't know. With the whole legacy stuff, that just I mean, it feels like in the last year, we've had a lot of sales pitches come out of Marvel about what they're going to do with their line, and none of it has really taken. So I don't know what the fresh start is any more than I know what anything else is, I guess. It's another opportunity for them to sell number one books. Other than that, I don't know. I mean, so I'm slowly listening to titles come out, and some of the titles are interesting. I just had to order my comic books. I did not order the Avengers. The Avengers are starting out new. It has Jason Aaron on it. I'm interested. I'm just very gun shy about picking up Avengers or X-Men books because of they're so plagued with event books, and that just frustrates me to no end. So that's keeping me from getting it, even though I may end up getting it anyway. I may ultimately, go into the comic book store, and that'll be a title that'll be sitting on the shelf. So if my comic book store still exists, then I will walk in and probably pick up number one out of curiosity. I probably should have just ordered it with the commitment of not getting any more, but at least just seeing what the story was. Because I like Jason Aaron. I like most of the stuff he writes. I like the characters that are in that. So I'm interested in that. I'm actually going to probably pick up the Incredible Hulk for the first time. I bought there was a Marvel, I don't know what it was called. It wasn't Marvel Knights. It was something like Marvel Knights. A little weird Hulk story. That's the only Hulk I've ever bought in my life. It was like an alternative set in the future weird Hulk story. But this will be the first Incredible Hulk I'll pick up because it's being pitched as being kind of a horror story. So I'm interested in that.
Who's on that book?
Al Ewing is doing it.
Ooh, okay.
So and that's what's so people still think that Bruce Banner's dead because he's dead. I mean, technically right now he's dead in the comic books. So I don't know how he comes back. I have no idea. I don't care about that part so much. But he's kind of wandering, the back roads of wherever, trying to figure out his own whatever, and it's being pitched as being kind of a horror. I haven't heard him talk about it, but I've heard both Jason Aaron and Donny Cates talk about it, and that has me curious about it. So I will try that just because, like I said, I've never picked up a Hulk book. This is a weird take on a Hulk book. Cool. I'll check that out. There hasn't been a whole lot else, but I mean, right now my buying of Marvel books is kind of the odd, off the beaten path is the stuff I'm reading. Just because I do read more DC first and foremost, but there's a lot of stuff from Marvel I don't read because I don't want to get tied into the whole event stuff. So there's books I just avoid from that. Whereas the DC stuff, when I pick it up, I drop stuff and then re-pick it up or just bitch the entire time my books are being thrown off into some other event that I don't care about or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, so far there hasn't been a whole lot but there's still a lot out there. If this is, right? I mean, there's still got to be a ton of stuff that or are they only doing a few? That's the thing. Like I said, it feels like it's a ship lost at sea, that they don't have a real plan as to what they're doing.
Or maybe they're like DC, they're waiting for the appropriate venue to announce a bunch of the new stuff that's coming.
I guess, so? But no, because they've slowly been announcing stuff. Mm-hmm. If they were doing some big announcement, you'd think like the Avengers book would be part of that. I mean, isn't the Avengers like one of the books? Well, they did announce
flagship books. Yeah.
They did announce Captain America. It's going to be coming out on July 4th. Is when it's being released. Written by guy who's writing Black Panther. Oh, dang it. I'm losing my mind today.
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Yes. He's going to be writing it. I am curious about that. He says that he wants to explore Captain America because he wants to know why would somebody still, in this day and age, why would somebody still believe in the American dream? And part of me goes, oh, that's an interesting prospect. And part of me also thinks, well, that's really interesting. It's really easy because from his perspective, I mean, he's from the 40s. He's from when everybody believed in the American dream. So why wouldn't he still believe that? I don't know. So I'm back and forth on that because I like his writing. I do not necessarily care for his comics. I dropped Black Panther, and maybe he's better now. I mean, maybe because I think that was like his first comic book, so maybe it's gotten better. But I didn't enjoy his Black Panther a lot. I like the ideas. I didn't like the execution of it. So I'm back and forth on that one. A part of me thinks I need to read that for other reasons than comic books. Beyond comic books feels like I need to read it. So
yeah, okay.
What do you think about the whole Marvel
start? Well, I don't get excited about these initiatives. It's kind of lame to relaunch, 18 months after you relaunch something.
And renumber again.
Yeah. And I get that. I get the frustration from the readers' perspectives, but I also don't, it's just comic books, things stop and restart all the time. It's just how the nature of this publishing, or the nature of comic book publishing. It just happens, right? Sometimes they get long runs, where we get the books get into the triple, or in one case the quadruple digits. But if you do have like 4 volumes in 3 years, there's probably something they should do differently. I don't know, but I, like I said, I'm less concerned about it. It's just what I look at is who's doing the work.
Is it going to be a good story?
Yeah, is it going to be a good story? That's really all it is. Who's doing the work, and do I like these characters? And even over that is what the creator's bringing to this character enough to make me like you. I have no interest in reading a Captain America book. I have no interest in reading a Hulk book. I just don't. I don't care for those characters. But your description, which I had not known about, your description of what Coates is doing potentially with Captain America, I agree with you. I find that very intriguing, not just in terms of this being a new Captain America book, but what gravitas is brought by that writer to that story. So. Yeah. And Comic Crack here in the chat says, yes, it's a part of it, but there is a burnout factor with readers. Yeah, I totally get that. I really do. But I'm less. I get less tied up in that whole factor. I just wish they would just tell stories and not. I don't know. I get. I guess I get more uptight about the fact that they keep announcing all this stuff all the time.
Right.
Stop announcing stuff.
Right. Stop the fanfare and just tell good stories. That's really.
Yeah. And that's not. Oh yeah. And that's not to say that they're not putting out good stories now, because I was, because some of those books have ended.
Right.
I only buy 5 or 6, or was buying 5 or 6 Marvel books, and I bought those because of who's on the books, not necessarily because I need to read the latest Avengers comic. I just like the stories they're telling. I didn't care that they relaunched, like Thor, Jason Aaron's Thor with Russell Dodderman and the other artists. I've followed that since the God Bomb story, or whatever it was, that Aaron started out on. And I think it was Thor, and then it went to Mighty Thor. I don't know. I feel like there's been like 2 or 3 different titles, but it's all telling the same story. So I don't really care that they've launched and relaunched and whatever. Yeah, Comic Crack says, yes, exactly. Stop the garbage and tell us a good story. That's all we want from comic books, regardless of who's publishing them.
Exactly.
Tell us a good story. And even if it's a bad story, again, this is where I don't get hung up on stuff too much, is that even if it's a bad story, I know that down the road, somebody else will pick this up, and they could be telling the next great, fill in the blank character's story here. So then again, I also think that with age comes a certain amount of perspective on that, and you don't get, at least I don't. Maybe Travis does, but I don't get all that.
Well, that's not age. That's from the number of years that you've read. It's less to do with age than it has to do with. I think that if you're somebody who's read,
that's true. You're right.
I think if you're somebody who just came into comics, like let's say DC's New 52, and not just write DC, but but that's when you jumped into comics on both companies, and you look what's happened. There's a lot of volatility. It feels like a lot of volatility in a very short period of time.
That's true.
Versus us who've read, way back and have been reading all along. You've got a much larger breadth to look across and go, it really hasn't been. There's moments of whatever, but that's how comics work. Yeah.
It reminds me of, when they tell you about investing, don't look at the stock market in the short term. You have to look at it in the long term to see what your potential returns are, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's how I look at comic books. So I've been reading for, I'm going to say the number, Travis, almost 40 years. In fact, oh my God, this year, later this year will be 40 years. So it'll be the anniversary that I've been reading comics and reading them nonstop since 1978.
Yeah.
and I just have this long-term look at these things, and I see a lot of things happening and rehappening, variations along the way, but that's just comics. And maybe that's a fault of mine in where I am not seeing the importance of what's going on in this short term right now, and how it's different from what has gone on before. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just accepting, I'm not saying these things are this necessarily, but maybe I'm accepting garbage, to use that term. And I just don't think of it that way because of that 40-year perspective. And it really is garbage. And I'm just kind of eating the garbage no matter what, because it's like, well, this is what I've been doing for 40 years. I don't know.
That is an interesting thought.
Okay, so Marvel's fresh start. Hopefully, I wish them well, because it's always good to have DC, Marvel, and all the other publishers do well and produce good stuff for us.
Be happy to read a lot more Marvel books if there were Marvel books I wanted to read.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to skip over this other thing I have here, but the other thing, we talked about Bendis going to DC, but another big name recently talked about leaving Marvel as well. Chris Samnee, is no longer going to be doing Marvel books.
His contract ended, and he's already actually finished his last pages. He's no longer doing Marvel work. At least not contract anyway. I mean, I don't know if that means he doesn't come back and do something or do covers or
freelance for him. Yeah.
Right. Wow. But we haven't heard what's next.
I know.
I don't care what it is. I'm buying it probably. And chances are, that's huge. He's been a loyal. I wonder. I would love to know. I mean, he's too nice of a guy. You'll never know why. But I would love to know why. Why now he's made that choice, or did Marvel make that choice?
I can't imagine that Marvel's like, Chris, thanks for all the work you did on Daredevil and then Captain America and other things.
I don't know. I mean,
but see ya.
Except for, here in the last year, Marvel execs have made comments like their artists don't sell comics. They've made some comments about their artists that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how you couldn't be insulted by it if you worked for them. I'm serious. I mean, it'll be like, oh, people just say dumb things or whatever. And, you could be the better man and let it roll on by. But there's no way in the back of my head, if I'm busting my ass 10 hours a day or whatever it is to get comic books out on time, that would not niggle in the back of my head. I'm missing my kids, whatever, because I'm working my ass off here. And the back of my head, there's some exec going, we don't really have, artists don't sell books.
No, okay, so I knew you were going to that. You don't think that Marvel's kind of already said, oops, we that guy really screwed up, and we really don't think that.
Did they say that publicly? If they don't say it publicly, it don't mean crap, as far as I'm concerned. You calling me up, my personal editor calling me up and going, oh man, that's not what I think. Cool, I may know Joe doesn't think that about me. The people who work with me directly on my book don't think that about me. But clearly somebody who's in charge of the company thinks that. That's just me.
Yeah. No, I get it. But I mean, come on. I think there would have to be more than just that stupid comment because how long ago was that comic? About a year ago ish.
Some of them the last year. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, maybe that's timely enough that Mr. Samney might have decided, you know what, enough of this crap. I'll finish my contract.
Well, I'm not saying it's that. I'm not saying it. I'm not just saying it's that. But I mean, that would, I think he can go wherever he wants to. I can't imagine that he can't. I don't know anyone who does not like Chris Samney's work.
I know, right?
Seriously. I mean, there's always somebody. There's always that one person who's like, I don't like, whoever else loves. There's always that one person that's like, whatever. But that's somebody I've never heard anybody say, I don't care for his work.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's next. I'm excited. I'm excited to see if he does something independent. What would that be?
Yes.
Because he does such class. I mean, for me, he's got his own style, but he always feels very classic when it comes to superheroes. Now I own a book called Gage that he did. It's a original graphic novel. I think it's put out by Vertigo that he did really, really early on of his. And it's it's more of a noir-ish kind of a thing.
Well, that's perfect for him.
Right. And it looks cool, but it doesn't have for me in my head, it doesn't have the classic pop that his heroes do. So it just, to me, I mean, I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited to see him do whatever. He does something independent. I'm gonna pick it up or whatnot. But I have to admit, as a DC fan, I'm really excited about the idea that maybe he's gonna show up somewhere in DC. I know a lot of people have been floating around on my channel. Well, he's gonna work with Bendis, and personally, I think that's a waste of talent to have the two of them on the same book together. Because I think Chris Samney is enough of a storyteller himself.
Well, yeah, he's certainly been.
His Black Widow,
Black
Widow run, and I'm going to call it his Black Widow run because Wade didn't really want to do the book. He did the book because Chris wanted to do it, and he just kind of filled in the blanks. I mean, it was Chris did the plot, and the art was awesome. I love the action sequences in that thing. Super, super cool. Put him on. I mean, give him a Batman book. Kick everybody off Batman. Give him the whole Batman line. Yeah, let's just do that.
So I was going to mention that because when did he do these? Inktober. Samney put, as he does or has done in previous years, he does these sketches for Inktober, and then he does he auction them off for charity, or does he just sell them? I can't remember.
I mean, some of them I know that some of them he's auctioned off to go to particular things, some of his pieces, but I also know he sells some too.
Yeah. And he did a bunch of Batman characters that, oh my God, if I had the money, I would have bought all of them. Yep. Well, at least all the ones with Robin in them. Yeah. But yeah, gorgeous stuff. So obviously he can do, Batman poses, and we know he's a great storyteller. Mm-hmm. It just seems like a logical fit, but agreed with you and Mr. Comic Crack here. It'd be great to see him go the indie route and do something totally different. And also, Comic Crack says it has to be money, right? For him leaving, perhaps.
Well, I don't know, because here's my thought: is as a contracted exclusive person, the money's coming. It's not. I mean, it's there. There's that's the one thing about working for the big two and being under contract. You get a steady paycheck. You have a steady paycheck coming. That he's got 3 kids, 3 small children, at least 3 small children. I can see a lot of reasons for wanting to stay on contract for those kinds of things. For the stability of that as a family person myself, there's something to be said for knowing there's a consistent paycheck coming, kind of a thing versus, going his own, on the indie route. It's more lucrative if it sells because, of course, he gets more of all of that, but there's risk involved too. But as we've been talking about, the guy has a name, and I don't know anybody who doesn't like him. So I can't see his book not doing well. I can't see the first one. If he goes independent, I can't see the first issue of whatever it is that he puts out not going back for at least a second printing. I just can't. However many issues they choose to print, it won't be enough, and somebody will be begging for more. is my guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, he's one of those artists where if he announces a new indie project, I don't think I would care what it is exactly. I would definitely pick up at least the first issue, just because his work is so. Oh, have they put out a Chris Samney art book featuring spotlighting his stuff at Marvel, say, or anything else? Because my God, that I would buy that.
I want to think that there is one, that there has been one that's been put out.
Has he been to Emerald City?
The first year we were there.
Damn it!
I have a Chris Samney hanging on my wall from that first year.
Oh, just stop!
Because he lived in Portland. He had moved to Portland. He was there. He was in Portland for like 2 years. He went to that con that 1 year, and then he moved back to like Illinois or whatever, where most of the rest of his family is, because it was easier to with the kids and whatnot. But yeah, I have hanging on my wall my fantasy buddies on the road type movie comic book. It's the Phantom Stranger and Dr. Fate. Can't you see that? Phantom Stranger and Dr. Fate driving across the United States in a old convertible of some sort, righting the magical wrongs. Yes.
Sounds like a pitch you need to make to DC Comics there, Travis.
I have.
I remember that. I remember that sketch you got. You showed me that year, and I'm like, oh my God, who is this? And this is incredible. And I wish I had the money back then to have done that too. Because as soon as you showed me that, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. So and then I discovered Chris Samney on Daredevil with Mark Waid, right?
Yeah.
So okay. When I mentioned earlier that I'm going to skip over something, and I just decided I may not anyway, since we're still talking about Marvel DC stuff. I almost made me laugh out loud when you were talking, Travis. Sergeant America says, "Are you skipping over having Travis do his best cartoon voices?"
Yes, we are.
No, this is the thing I need to have happen, Travis. Okay.
No such thing.
All right. Okay, let's move on. The next topic, unless you have something else you want to throw in right now, Travis.
No.
So just to let people know in case they don't, in terms of the previews catalog, we have the previews catalog. We have Image Plus, their own catalog, so to speak, and we also have a Marvel catalog, separate Marvel catalog, right? Mm-hmm. Well, now DC's decided to join that stupid club. I don't know if it's stupid, but so beginning, I think, in the May previews time frame, so just in a couple months, as we record this, DC's going to put out their own previews catalog. So now we're going to have at least 4 of these books for people who, like me, need need the previews catalog so I can order stuff easily, see what I'm missing. But it's just like, oh my God, do we really need these separate catalogs? And I know you're shaking your head. I know you because you don't get the previews catalog, so you don't care about this.
Not at all. Not at all. It's all online. It's all there.
You have to.
I'm embracing the digital. Leave me alone. I'm embracing the digital.
Oh my God. See, you are just one short step towards reading digital comics all the time, Travis. Admit it. Admit it now. You want to come out.
No, I don't.
You want to come out that you want to read digital comics. Come on.
I don't.
Let it be free, Travis. Be free to express yourself.
No.
All right. Okay. So just want to throw that out there. But in addition to that, they are doing a digital version of previews as well. So that's coming, which I guess maybe that will take care of my concern about having 3 different ones. I imagine they'll be all available, right? Digitally? I don't know. Would that
previews is still the one that's actually doing them all, right? I mean, it's still. Even though each of those are their own separate whatever, I mean, it's all being produced by the same people, isn't it?
Well, at the very least, they're somehow tied together because Image puts out their own, and yet I mean, through the service I order my comics from, I also get the previous catalog. This is DCBS. I get the thick catalog.
Right.
I also get the Marvel previews, and they send me the Image Plus. And I mean, this is DCBS specifically, but I assume anyway. I get, when I order the previews catalog, I get all three of those.
Right.
And so I assume that it'll be the same for the DC one.
Right. So I would assume digitally. So I would assume digitally it would be the same then also.
I don't know.
Guess.
If it is, I might just go to that.
Here's my small little bit about the whole previews thing and whatnot. I don't like solicitations. I do not like them.
Most of them are
at all. Well, it's not just that. They're also, unless it's something new, truly new, that I need some idea of what it is that I'm getting myself into. It spoils what's going on. I like just reading the comic books. I had, when I was a kid, we had a pull list. Our comics landed in that little tinfoil tray. We came and we got them. We didn't know what was coming other than what it said on the last page, the cliffhanger page. Oh no, next issue, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. I enjoy that. If it's a comic I know I'm getting, I do not look anything about it. It's Batman. I buy Batman. I just get it. It's whatever it is, I get it. I do not look to see what the next issue of Kill or Be Killed is going to be. I love those creators. I get it. I do not pay attention. So it's really easy for me digitally not to look at stuff. If I had a big catalog, it's really easy for me to sit there and read through it all.
No, I don't do that for all the books that the Batmans and Supermans. I don't look at those. I don't read what's there. I just see which one they're offering to verify. Especially now that they're doing DC and Marvel do twice monthly shipping.
Yeah.
Because there have been times where I've gone through the catalog and I ordered my book and I missed one. I missed an issue.
Yeah.
Right. Because it said that in there, but I wasn't reading it. So I just saw, oh yeah, they published the next Avengers book or the next Batman book or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I've missed issues that way. So now I do read it a little more closely, but I totally skip the descriptions of the issue because I don't, like you, I don't want to be spoiled. I just want to read it. Yeah. There have been times where I accidentally have read the description and I was spoiled and it pisses me off.
Right.
So, but like you, I read the new stuff coming out, or if they are bringing on a new creative team, I may read that. But generally speaking, at least for DC and Marvel, they don't put a lot of details for those kinds of solicitations anyway. So, but yeah. Okay. And then finally, I think, finally on this, so Diamond is going to release a new online pull and hold service called Previews World Pull Box to encourage online pre-orders to local comic shops.
That's cool. If it works, that's cool.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like, and the article I read was just basically they're doing this and no details about what that means, especially for local comic shops. What? How does this work?
Well, I'm sure they, because they're connected to Diamond anyway, right? Because it's the only place you can get your comic books, distributed. So in my head anyway, I'm thinking is I have an account. I set it home, jump on my computer, I maintain my pull list, order my whatever, ensure that everything's there that I want. I click the boop, and it sends in, it's got some tie to my comic book shop. So it gives them that information. I would have loved that. Every comic book shop experience I have ever had, including the lovely people that we got comic books when me and you were youngins, they will screw something up.
Yep.
Now I'm on top of it. I am on top. And not to say I don't make mistakes. We all make mistakes. Whatever. I'm not. But being the control freak that I want to be about my comic books, I can ensure. To me, that sounds awesome because as a I can, because I envision I walk into the comic book store. I've heard about a comic book. Hey, I want this comic book, and they're like, "Oh, okay, cool." Or the comic book changes title a little bit. It's the same comic book, but it changes title. And I've experienced this where the comic book would be, I don't know, The Adventures of Batman. And then 2 months later, it becomes Batman Adventures. And it's the same comic. I want to keep getting it. I know that it's changed, but sometimes the comic book shop doesn't know that it's changed, and they miss it because they just thought it ended, and they don't pick up the next whatever part of it is. I can help control that. To me, that sounds like a good thing. And I think it'd be better. And I think it'd be better for the comic book shop too. It may be less of a hassle for them to have to keep track of it, because now it's all on the customer to manage their crap.
So isn't it really, though, just, I mean, because we're familiar with DCBS, and I know you've done
We're cutting out the comic book shop, ultimately.
Well, in some ways, but it's kind of the best of both worlds in a sense, because like I said, we use DCBS. Mm-hmm. We can't access their actual physical shop because they are back east or further east than where we're at, right? So everything is done through their website. We order the comics, they get shipped to us, we get them. I would love to have something like that, a local comic shop like that, where, yeah, like you say, you manage it yourself, and we get the books there, and you have the local comic shop experience. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, that sounds like a good deal. It just depends on, ultimately, it comes down to money all the time, right? So we get good discount ordering from DCBS. So whatever the shop's discount is, I guess that would really, that really determines where I go. And the service, of course. I know that even DCBS screws things up sometimes.
Yeah.
But that just happens. Mm-hmm. Some of us have on this show have been luckier than others in that regard.
For sure.
But it's an interesting idea.
I'm high maintenance though, so that's why I have all the problems.
That's what I've always said about you, Travis.
I know. Yeah.
So Comic Crack asks, so you do the order, then it gets shipped to your comic book shop if you want. I think that's the idea. Mm-hmm. Is that you're just Diamond is just simply helping you manage your pull list. That's how I'm taking it.
Right.
Right. But the books get shipped to your local comic shop. You go in and grab them from that dealer.
Right.
So I shouldn't say that word. that's the wrong.
My understanding is instead of the comic book shop, them keeping track of what everybody wants and whatnot, and then them sending an order in saying this is what I need ordered to my store, for my customers, that you have access to the system where it has all the books there. You're making your choices. That is electronically being sent to your comic book shop, informing them that this is what you're getting, and helps create that order. I think, mm-hmm. and so then you got this universal ordering system. I mean, there might be some dark side to that. If I start thinking about it from the comic book shop side of it, is this the slippery slope to Diamond Distributing just sending the comic books straight to you and cutting out?
That's what I was wondering too.
Which I don't know if that's the case. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. So
I don't have a working relationship with comic book shop owner type people, so I do not know what that.
Well, you do have that comic book shop down there where you live.
Yeah. Barely, but I do.
But next time you're in there, you should ask him about that.
Yeah, next time I'm in there, I'll do that.
So Comic Crack also says, so you become an employee of the comic shop, basically. I think that's what you were alluding to before, essentially, where you just do everything that the comic book shop person would do. So
yes, but I don't mind being that employee, because, like I said earlier, I'm a control freak when it comes to my pull. Then I have nobody to blame but myself when I jack something up. So then I'm just angry at myself. I do much better being angry at myself than I do the so-and-so down the street that, forgot to order the last issue of Infinity Inc. And it takes me 10 years to finally get the last issue of Infinity Inc. because the goddamn shop didn't pick it up.
This is not a true story, folks.
Yes,
right,
this
Travis?
is a true story.
I know. It is.
A true story. Oh. So
I think we've all had experiences like that.
I'm just saying that's one of those kind of things that.
Yeah. But it is, yeah, it's an interesting idea. I don't know. I can see some people looking at this and going, this is the death of the last gasp of the local comic shop. So I don't know. Yeah.
But how do floppies survive if they're realistically? But maybe they're not realistic enough. Maybe they're going to become like vinyl, records where
aren't they?
They don't go. Not yet. Not. Well, okay, cool. If this is where they are now, I'm hoping that we get at some point we're going to get a resurgence, because actually vinyl records, there are going to be more and more of them as people are coming back to that. So I hope the comeback comes sooner than the later.
Yeah. And finally on this topic, Comic Crack says, then why not just get it shipped to your house? It seems weird to me. And it seems weird to us too, I think.
Yeah. Because that's what we do now.
Yeah. Okay. Next topic. And I know this is something that Travis likes to keep an eye on. And he and I hardly ever agree on the titles that we are interested in. Totally, anyway. But what I'm talking about, or referring to, are the Image Expo announcements and the books talked about there. And I know when we have talked about Image Expo titles that are announced, one of the things that you bring up is, okay, when are we going to see this stuff? Because they make these announcements, and then sometimes a year later, we still haven't gotten the books. By the time of the next Image Expo, we still haven't gotten the books that were announced the previous year.
I need to go back and do the actual data to know for sure what it is. But anecdotally, it feels like it's like a 50% ratio. We see about half the books, and the other half we don't see at all, or it's years later. I mean, one of the books that was announced at Image Expo was announced at last Image Expo, and they're still trying to pitch the thing. The Rob Liefeld, bloody whatever, glory. Yeah, it has never. I mean, they announced it last year, and then they announced it again this year. So,
okay, so what are the Image Expo books that you are that were just announced that you are interested in?
There's a few of them. I'm excited for the Dead Guy Fan Club by Annie Wu. I like her. I like her as a creator. I like her style of stuff and whatnot. So I'm intrigued by that book. The basic premise of that book is a rock star fan club. The fans are in their adulthood, and they're the rock star dies under suspicious kind of a suspicious sort of a thing, and so they get their fan club back together again to try and figure out what happened. I don't know. I kind of like the whole premise of that, and like I said, I like Annie Wu, so I'm going to try anything that she's working on. Supposedly, it comes out in the fall of 2018, but I don't know. We'll see on that. I'm trying to think of what the others are. There were, like I said, there were a few of them. I'm interested in The Weatherman by Jody Lepup and Nathan Fox. I love Nathan Fox's work, so I'm kind of curious about that. It's a story of a weatherman on Mars who can't remember his past, and you start to find out that in his past he was some sort of potentially evil eco-terrorist or something like that. But now,
so if you want to turn me off as a reader, there are a few things that if you say in your description, I will not buy your book.
Yeah.
Not knowing their past, waking up and not knowing anything about their past or who they are is one of those things.
Okay.
So I don't care who's involved. If that description is in there, it's an automatic pass for me.
No, I'm going to get it. I'm looking forward to it. And What's the Furthest Place from Here is a book I'm interested in, largely because I like the title. It just, to me, seems like it sounds like a book title. It does not sound like a comic book title to me. So I'm curious about it. It's a story about a gang of punks in the wastelands of America, and one of their members gets kidnapped or something, and they kind of drift across America trying to figure that out, what's going on there, and figure themselves out too. And it's by the guys who do Four Kids Walk Into a Bank, which I hear good things about, but I'm not actually read myself. So curious about that. Curious as to why they're doing and this is just me just curious about the stuff in the background of things. Why are they doing this book at Image as opposed to doing a Black Mask? Since how their noted work is from Black Mask, right? Because isn't Four Kids Walk Into a Bank, isn't that a Black Mask book? Maybe it's not.
Don't know.
Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm confusing myself.
Well, there are so many imprint publishers, prestige publishers. I don't know what the proper term here is nowadays. That it's hard to keep track of who's doing what.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that though. And the other one, Death or Glory. I'm looking forward to that Rick Remender book. All of his independent stuff right now, I've been excited behind. This is my least exciting one just because it's road racing across the United States. I'm not so much a road racing that kind of a thing. Bengal on art though. So the art will be awesome. Basically about a woman who has to do like 4 heists in 7 days because she needs some money to save her dad who's dying of something. And they're like the last of the free people, basically, is kind of the premise is they're not stuck to the grid with automatic vehicles and all that kind of stuff and whatnot. And it is Black Mask. 4 Kids Walk Into a Bank. I see that.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yes,
I remember that now. Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. So are those the 4 that you're most looking forward to?
And the J.H. Williams one, just because it's J.H. Williams III.
Okay, so that's why.
I mean, but to be quite honest, the premise of that makes me want to fall asleep. But I'm gonna get it for the art.
Exactly, and so that's the only book that you listed that I share with you for the same exact reason. It's like, so this is J.H. Williams, Echolands by J.H. Williams and Hayden Blackman with Dave Stewart on colors and Todd Klein on letters. But yeah, that description that I pulled from that announcement.
Yawn.
Yeah, yeah, not exactly very exciting, but my God, J.H. Williams can draw the crap out of a book. So
yeah.
Well, although I mean, I assume he's drawing. I don't know that that's for sure. But how could you not assume that he's not drawing it?
Well, they would have mentioned an artist if he wasn't.
Yeah.
And they didn't.
Yeah. Okay. The other, so I only had 3 listed here. The other one I have is Blackbird by Sam Humphries and Jen Bartel.
Jen Bartel.
I love her work. My God, she's one of the more prolific.
She did the cover art for this year's
the
ECC.
Emerald City. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's beautiful. God, I love her work. She's one of the real prolific artists that I follow on Twitter. I think she's on Instagram too, and she just puts out stuff all the time. It's like, oh, that's so gorgeous. Anyway, so this is a Blackbird's a modern fantasy story best described as Harry Potter meets Riverdale. Yeah, I know, and I did the same thing.
I'm out right there. I like those creators just fine, but no, I'm out.
But the description gets better, Travis. It gets much better. It follows this young woman named Nina who discovers a neon lit world of magic masters in LA. Now they've kidnapped her sister, and Nina's the only one who can save her. Now, I have to admit that's one of those plots that's like, that's a little thin.
I still can't get past Riverdale and Harry Potter.
Okay, put that aside. Neon lit world of magic masters in LA. That seems like something that you would be interested in.
Mm-hmm. Sounds pretty, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Except everybody's going to act like they're from Harry Potter and Riverdale, and I'm done.
Yeah, that is concerning. But
well, I mean, for me, there's people that I know will eat that up like gangbusters. So
yeah.
But her table at Emerald City Comic Con, by the way, was nonstop people. She was one of the few places that actually had a line pretty much all the time. I wanted to get a Girl Gang shirt from her, but I didn't want to stand in line to buy one. So
All right, then the other one is the last. I hate when they put these two sounds together. Last Siege. Last Siege. Can't even do it twice. The Last Siege by Landry Q. Walker and Justin Greenwood. And so I mostly latched onto that because it's Landry Q. Walker,
Right.
of Danger Club fame, because it's one of my all-time favorite comic books. And so it's like, okay, well, it's I want to support this writer, and here's a new book. But it's art by Justin Greenwood, who does Stumptown, and I just read the first volume of Stumptown, Travis, because they reissued it. I want to say through IDW. I can't see my bookshelf from where I'm sitting here. No, Dark Horse, I think. Anyway, I love getting old. I can't see things. But great book. Great book. But so this is a medieval war story inspired by the storytelling structure of classic spaghetti westerns. Come on.
Okay, so I love spaghetti westerns, but you're a writer. What is the classic, whatever you just said, classically, whatever, about spaghetti westerns? What is that? What is that, Eric? I read that and I laughed. I go, okay, spaghetti western sounds cool, and you're going to sell people on the book because the word spaghetti western's in it? Well, what's that structure? What's the structure of a spaghetti western?
Storytelling structure of classic spaghetti westerns.
What is the storytelling structure of a classic?
See, that's what intrigues me.
So I have to buy it to find out. Okay.
As a writer, that is I'm like, what the hell is this mean?
I am up in the air on that, and probably if it actually comes out at the end of the day, I'll probably pick it up. I mean, because I love spaghetti westerns. I love the samurai stories that the spaghetti westerns are actually attached to. If you want to take it all the way back, I'm medieval and sword and sorcery stuff. It has to be just right anymore for me to be excited about that. I'll at the end of the day, I'll probably check it out. Cannot.
Yeah. But I chose those three because of the people involved. Yeah. Most of them for the artist, or two of them for the artist, and the other one for Walker for his writing. So, none of the premises of those three really excite me all that much, quite honestly. So it's
you're hoping the creators are going to sell it. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like I said, go ahead.
Yeah, Comic Craig says, I think in response to your question about classic spaghetti westerns, lone man against a group, neither good guy or bad, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's I think that's obviously part of it, but I'm the only, to be honest here, full disclosure, I've only seen one, maybe two spaghetti westerns.
Oh, so. Get out of here! Holy cows!
Well, wait. Name more than two, Travis. Come on, I'm putting you on the spot here.
My name is Nobody. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yes.
Fistful of Dollars.
Yes.
And of course, now that I'm on the spot, I can't think of a whole bunch more.
Right. I mean,
there's three. But I could, yeah. I mean,
I haven't seen that first one.
It gets more challenging when you try to name the Kurosawa movies that those movies are based off of. Then it gets harder.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, we are. I got three more things on my list here that we were going to talk about. This next one is I'm sure will be real quick. I mostly just want to mention it because one, it's a fantastic book, and Comic Crack says Django Unchained. Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah,
I've not seen that. That's supposed to be a spaghetti western.
It's a Tarantino movie. I don't know if it's a spaghetti western or not.
Oh, it's Tarantino's vision of a spaghetti western. See, I'll watch it. If it's Tarantino. I don't know how to pronounce that. Manaja, The Man Called Blade.
Yeah.
He also offers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so like I said, this next announcement from Marvel is because it's a freaking awesome book. The only problem is the publication history of it has been so few and far between. But this is Hickman and Weaver's. The final 2 Shield issues come out in May. I just did my pre-order for March, and I ordered those issues 5 and 6. Did you read Shield, Hickman and Weaver's Shield, Travis?
I did not.
Oh my God!
I mean, I'm familiar with it. I'm familiar with it. And I'm familiar with the lack of an ending, kind of a thing. So I just think it's. I mean, they're finally getting around.
I know, right? So
giving it. So
it's been 7 years. Oh man, I hope my. Yeah, 2000. It came out okay. So Shield, which is. Oh man, I don't. It sprawls the entire history of the Marvel universe, and you're seeing that history laid out in such a unique and interesting way. And Weaver's art is just gorgeous. You've not seen any of this, Travis? You've not looked at preview art pages for this book or anything?
Seen
I
covers
have. Even? Okay.
Yeah.
You like that work, right? You like Weaver's work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Dude, I will give you those issues so you can read it at the very least.
Cool.
This is a book that needs to be put into a deluxe hardcover edition. I mean, the whole thing that they've done. So they've done, I think, 2 volumes, and this announcement has to do with the second one from 2011. They put out 4 issues, and then nothing for 7 years, which is just incredibly.
Why is that?
I don't remember exactly now why. It's been so long. And of course they weren't talking about why in the announcement. Sure. It's just like, here's the final 2 issues. They're done. And I remember going to Heroes Con a couple years ago, and Hickman was there, and he talked about how he's done with it. His part was done. I mean, and he totally, if I remember correctly, he totally put the blame on himself for not having done the scripts for those final 2 issues. And he said, they're done. We're just waiting for Weaver to do the art and get them all done before we announce the publication of those 2 issues. This was Heroes Con 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And here we are finally. I am so excited that I ordered those final 2 issues. I can't wait to read those. And see, and now I have the perfect excuse to go back and read the entire thing.
There you go.
From beginning to end. Travis, do you remember in Pullman they had that comic book shop briefly? Did you ever go to that one?
Yeah, you used to buy stuff there.
Yeah, and so that's where I went to get, because I was hearing about this book called Shield, and this is before it was right before I got totally hooked on Hickman, and anything that Hickman was writing, I was trying to pick up. And I heard about this book called Shield. It was like making a lot of noise, and so I'm looking around for any place that has the back issues. And that particular shop had a bunch of variant issues for a few of the issues that I couldn't find anywhere else, and so I picked those up. And it's I guess I want to talk about it with you because I think it's something that you would really, really enjoy. And it's a spectacle of Marvel history that I just love. So I'm very excited about that.
I will have to check it out.
I'm surprised you didn't pick up any of those issues. It's so good. Okay.
I wasn't sold on Hickman at the time. I am now, but I wasn't sold on Hickman at the time. And
you like Fantastic Four, right? Just generally the concept of the characters. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I've never really dived into. And I know he had a huge run on it and stuff. I've never really dived into Fantastic Four. I took the opportunity when, of course, they started rebooting it after Hickman got off of it to try and read it, and we don't need to have a conversation about that. So,
all right. So
I wanted to come back. I kept waiting for us to get a Fantastic Four, but
yeah. So okay, again, I will loan you my Hickman Fantastic Four
I know you're a fan of that stuff.
trades. So good, Travis. So good. Okay.
Yeah.
We're done with that. I know you're gonna love it. So
okay. I'm gonna go hunt down the Shield books.
Yeah, they Marvel. I mean, after they put out these next 2 issues, they definitely need to turn right around and do a hardcover. What do they call their complete collections? Or I guess those are the trade versions. I don't know what they call their hardcover editions like that, where they just collect everything in a nice bound version. Because I try not to double dip anymore because I'm running out of room for all this stuff.
Right.
That is a book I will gladly spend. They usually charge like $50 or something like that for one of those kind of collections. Mm-hmm. I won't spend $50, but because I don't have to from where I get my comics.
Spend the discount.
But I will spend whatever DCBS charges me to get that in addition to all the single issues I already have, because it's such a beautiful, beautiful book. Writing, the visuals, my God, it's so good. Okay, done. I'm done. We're moving on.
Okay.
I spent way too long on that. Okay, next up is again. This is weird. It's like all these blasts from the past. Travis, we talked about some of this stuff, just like the Hickman and Weaver Shield. There's a new Sandman Universe line of comics coming from DC. All new stuff inspired by Neil Gaiman and all the wonderful artists over the years on that run of books. We're coming back to that, starting with Sandman Universe, which will be plotted by Gaiman, but written by I don't have my glasses on. Nalo Hopkinson. I've never heard of this writer. Cat Howard, Cy Spurrier, and Dan Waters, with art by Bilquis Everly and a cover by Jay Lee. So that's going to kick off the Sandman Universe line of comics. And then each of those 4 writers will go on to explore the various threads in that opening title in 4 new series. So we'll have the House of Whispers.
It's got to deal with voodoo.
Right. I circled the wrong thing as far as the time. So Hopkinson will write House of Whispers, and you're right. I'll just read through it. Explore the voodoo deity Urzuli, how that deity ended up in the dreaming with the House of Whispers. So the House of Whispers is a new thing, I think.
Yeah.
It's similar to the House of Mystery and the House of I'm blanking on the other one, Travis. What's the other house, major house that we have?
Secrets.
House of Secrets.
Yeah, that Abe and Kane both curate.
Right. And so now we have the House. I bet you House of Whispers did show up already in some previous Sandman books, but I don't remember that. Howard will write the Books of Magic, so we'll get another Books of Magic title, which will follow up on the miniseries of the same name. Although, I mean, miniseries, yes. I mean that lovely 4-issue miniseries that kicked off the Books of Magic. But that led to an ongoing series, and then there was another ongoing series after that, I believe. So it's weird that they mention only the miniseries in this.
Right.
But again, we'll explore Timothy Hunter's magical education as he's torn between 2 powerful destinies. That's just weird to me, because I thought that's what the ongoing series had done. So why are we coming back to that idea? That's just weird.
I don't know, unless
is this the New 52 version of Tim Hunter?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's that or it's. I don't know. I don't know. How much did Gaiman, watch over the stuff before versus how much he's watching over it now, and he wants it to be something different. I have no idea, because Gaiman's curating all these things in the same way that way as you curating the Young Animals stuff, kind of a thing. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then Spurrier will write The Dreaming, which will follow the supporting characters like Lucian and Matthew the Raven.
Yeah.
Again, we already had a Dreaming series that did exactly that. So what's different about this? And then finally, Waters will write Lucifer, which
of course
don't
had a long run. We had two. We had two. I mean, there was the original that came that that and then here one that just ended here recently.
Oh, it did just end. Okay.
Yeah.
And so that will find Lucifer blind and destitute, trapped living in a small boarding house in a quiet town where no one can ever leave. So it's the Eagles song.
Yes, Hotel California. Yeah.
Yes, Hotel California, in comic book form. Okay. And at the time that I grabbed this news bit, there were no artists attached to these.
Yeah, I still haven't heard that other than Bliss Geverly doing that initial thing, which will be
right.
I'll buy it just for that. So
yeah. So are any of these books interesting to you? Sound interesting to you? Are you going to pick any up based on these descriptions?
I don't know. Is there really all this empty space left to explore? I don't know that there is.
Exactly. See, that's what I'm wondering too.
And if so, why has it taken 30 years to get back to it? I don't know. I mean, I'm of two minds. I mean, I have mixed feelings about the Sandman run in the first place, so I guess it's part of it. It's such a rich place. It really is a rich place. There's a lot of interesting stuff that could happen in there. Is it going to? And then I guess it's just a lot of me as the old cynic that I am, as opposed to the young cynic I was. This a last gasp, desperate. Oh my God, that Vertigo's trying to hang on to. I mean, supposedly, I didn't realize this. I guess back in San Diego Comic-Con last year, at the Vertigo panel, but after they were done with everything else, they just bang plastered this date up on the screen, August 8th, 2018, and they said nothing. They just walked off. Supposedly, that's what happened. I don't remember that happening, but suppose that's what happened. And lo and behold, that's what this is, August 8th. So they've obviously been working on this for a long time. If they knew last San Diego Comic-Con that a year plus they would be doing this thing, they must have had a sense of. So I at least am comfortable in the fact that this wasn't they've been working on it. It's not something they just suddenly came up with and throwing it out there and whatnot. I don't know. I am curious about all of them, some of them more than others. I'm the least curious about the Book of Magic one. Because it falls into that Harry Potter category, and I just have never been interested in that. Either one.
Okay, hold on.
Either one.
Hold on. This is a pet peeve of mine. Because,
okay, fight me.
Because Harry Potter came after.
I understand that. And my criticism of Harry Potter when it came out was, this is the Books of Magic.
Yeah. Done better.
It's just most people know Harry Potter stuff. I mean, I know we're talking to clearly to educated comic book people who are here watching the show. I don't know. The two are to some degree are this. I'm least interested in that. I'm just saying. I'm the least interested in that just because that, young kid learning. It never interests me. It's just like if you take Merlin and tell it as Merlin as a kid learning magic, I'm not interested. And for whatever reason, I like kid books and kid stories. Kids learning magic for whatever reason just doesn't, because kids aren't imaginative enough in the books with what they could possibly do with the magic. I'm just saying, and that's the failure of the writer, right? Yeah. Writing about a kid who could do magic. I'm just saying. So, I don't know. That's the one that least interests me. The others more so, depending on what it is. The house one, for instance, I like the houses.
See that one in particular, because that to me is the least explored of the four.
Exactly. Lucifer is another one. I'll probably pick it up because I like them, but at the same time, it's not an unexplored place. It's been heavily explored. You're putting him in a new situation, but we know that character. I mean, if you've read any of that stuff, we know that character. They go a lot of places. The Carrie run, right? Because wasn't it Carrie that wrote I think so.
I think so.
That they explore a lot of stuff in that. That's a good book. They explore a lot of, a lot of things. It's not just, Lucifer walking around. I mean, they explore a lot of interesting, good stuff. So I don't know what's left in that.
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
I'm not saying there clearly isn't more stories. I'm just, they imply this whole sales pitch. They imply there's all this unexplored territory. That's not the case. The Books of Magic stuff, as you said, there's all these other books. That's not explored space. That's been explored a lot. I guess I don't know. I'm all for the Spurrier book, which takes all those secondary characters and let's just keep wandering with them, because I love those characters. So
yeah, exactly.
Except they felt like they kind of had endings. Most of the stuff at Sandman, didn't it?
I didn't think so.
You didn't feel like there was some resolution to like Matthew and some of those people?
Well, Matthew perhaps, but Lucian. As long as they include what's his name, Merv Pumpkinhead,
the Pumpkinhead.
Yeah,
right.
I'm all in. So the Dreaming one, I'll definitely get.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm curious about all of them. I don't know the day when it comes to ordering them. Yeah. It's going to depend on my pocketbook and what else I'm getting.
And then are they going to publish all 4 at the same time? So you get all new number ones of these 4 books. Well, I mean, obviously they'll do Sandman Universe and then followed quickly by one or more of these. So that'd be interesting.
And who's doing the art on them will
also
differ. Yeah. If they any one of these books, if they drop somebody on doing the art that I'm excited about, that immediately is going to up my interest in reading that. So
is there anybody that you have in mind for any of these books that you would like to see?
I would be happy to see Ryan Kelly on any of them. Bliss Everly, if she wants to keep doing any one of the books, I'm picking up whichever of those. She's doing the initial one. I love her style. I'd be excited by that. I want somebody who can keep a schedule, I guess, is part of what it is too. I mean, I love the last Sandman stuff that came out with J.H. Williams III doing the art on it, but when it takes a year and a half to do 6 issues, I don't know. That's rough. Yeah. And the way they came out, I don't have a problem with breaks when they're a scheduled known break. It's the unknown that makes it awfully hard. So I don't know. Those are the people I can think of off the top of my head right off hand. Other people that I'd be interested in, I know are working on other stuff. I want to see them on that other stuff, so I don't want to pull them back to doing Vertigo stuff and whatnot. So.
I was thinking that maybe on the House of Whispers, I would, just based on the description, of course, I was thinking the artist who did Unwritten would be good on that, but or even the cover artist.
Who's doing the House on High right now? Yeah,
the Highest House. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hold on, who's that? Yuko Shimizu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love it if they put out the cover like that, because that, you have the actual book right there.
Yeah.
The cover of that is awesome, just because part of it is flat, part of it is high gloss, part of it is actually raised. That's a sexy cover. Just.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's like the background is a flat matte kind of a color, and then like the character and the mountains and the chains are a high gloss, so it just makes everything pop on it. I mean, it looks like a book cover. Yeah,
it does. Yeah. And speaking of this, I was just gonna talk to you about this off mic, but since we got it, since we're talking about it, it's like, this is an oversized issue. This is not your.
It's closer to a Golden Age. It's closer to a Golden Age. How big it is? Yeah. Yeah.
Could be clear up there. Yeah. This is
a quarter inch taller and like, I don't know, 3/4 inch wider. Yeah.
More than that.
It's like more than an inch.
Inch and a half. Yeah. Inch and a quarter maybe, but yeah. Now I have to go buy bags.
Where do you store
I
it
go
at?
by special bags. Yeah, I know, right? It's
Well,
gonna go on my bookshelf.
I've got stacks of books that I don't have in bags right now because they're that weird
Oh,
size.
really?
Yeah. I just don't want to commit to buying like
I
100
had,
bags of.
I know, right? Uh, I had no idea it was that size. This is the problem with not reading going back to our earlier discussion, not
Uh-huh.
reading the solicitations carefully. I had no idea it was going to be oversized until I got it.
Would you have not gotten it?
No, I love that
Okay.
team.
Yeah.
So yeah, it came in the box. I'm like, what the heck is anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sandman Universe. So this leads into the next thing that I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Next bit of news, and you had mentioned earlier the Gerard Way curated line of books, Young Animal. So now we have Gerard Way. Bendis is doing. We didn't talk about this, but Bendis is also going to do a curated line of books at DC. We now have this Sandman universe. And now we have what DC just announced this, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, but DC's Black Label. This came out on Thursday, March 8th, 2018. So this is fresh news coming out. So DC, this is from the DC website. DC launches new publishing imprint, DC Black Label. Brings edgy and provocative standalone stories to the legends of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. All-star writers Frank Miller, Scott Snyder, Brian Azzarello, Kelly Sue DeConnick, Greg Rucka, and John Ridley join this label with their ultimate takes. I'm getting tired reading this already. Takes on modern superhero storytelling, collaborating with superstar artists John Romita Jr., Greg Capullo, Lee Bermejo, and Phil Jimenez. What do you think, Travis? Is this a good idea?
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's a good idea. The books are a good idea, I guess. And from a marketing standpoint, I guess it's a good idea because the book market, as we mentioned at the beginning of the show, is getting stronger and stronger, and that's where more and more of their material is being sold. So if you can create something that's basically a book to start out with,
now hold on, you assume these are books for the book market, because I'm not. Maybe I missed that. Yeah, some of these are prestige formats, so like 3-issue.
Right.
Like the Superman Year One from Frank Miller and John Romita Jr. That's a 3-part prestige series that comes out in August. Yeah, it doesn't really.
So it's a little fancier for us floppy buyers, for us single issue buyers, and then it's going to be a trade.
Oh, of course.
And I think that's the market they're looking at.
Oh, I agree. I just want to make it clear that these aren't graphic novels, so to speak, from the get-go. They will be.
Oh, okay. You're right, but I really think that that's what's in mind. I think that these
ultimately they want these into the
yeah.
So
because they are going to be standalone, not pingent on continuity, not influencing the continuity. They're just their own thing. As I mentioned to you off air before we came on, I'm like, this is the same as Year One. So why is it Earth One? I'm sorry, yeah. Earth One. Why is it? I mean, because I understand that's its own little Earth, right? But this feels kind of the same thing. Is just, but I guess now I think about it, the reason it's not is because each one of these creators, these groups of creators, want to just do their own, tell their own story, whatever that is, without having to worry about anybody else's something or other, with it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm all for, because this to me falls under the category of just telling the story you want to tell. The creators telling the stories they want to tell, as opposed to being dictated by editorial. This is the direction we need to drive the character at, or we can't take Batman off over here, or we can't take Superman off over here because that takes them out of being the characters that we want to sell that Warner Brothers wants to sell someplace else or whatever the case may be. This allows them to go and do whatever they want to do. So I'm excited for it in that standpoint for sure. I have to admit, there's probably only a third of or less of those books that I'm actually interested in, as far as buying, but yeah.
So
go ahead.
So I agree with you in the sense of I like the idea of allowing these creators to tell these unique stories featuring these iconic characters. I'm totally on board with that. My my problem here is this whole brings edgy and provocative stories to these characters. And the reason I say that, unfairly or not, I'm tying this in with my reaction to the latest offerings from the animated movie side of DC's line, where they are putting out these rated R movies featuring interpretations of existing stories. Like the latest one that I just watched was Gotham by Gaslight. Right? Is that the one? Anyway, but the one where Batman's in 1800s, I think, whatever. Right. Right? And so they've been doing that now for a good few years, where there's more sexual situations. I mean, the movie I watched before Gotham by Gaslight featured Nightwing hooking up with Harley Quinn. I mean, yeah, and there's more blood. There's more violence, more graphic violence and stuff. For that kind of stuff. So I'm thinking of that in terms of what this is like, right? And so some of these, for example, Batman Last Night on KNIGHT on Earth, because they can never get away from the whole Dark Knight aspect of Batman, right? They always have to put that in there. This is from Snyder and Capullo. Batman wakes up in a desert. He doesn't know what year it is or how the Joker's head is alive in a jar beside him, and then he goes on a quest. And remember what I said before about you want to turn me off initially. How does the character doesn't know how he got there or who he is and stuff like that? I'm like, okay, done.
Well, okay. So for me, I know this is a sin, but Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo on Batman pretty much turns me off. So, I'm just, wow. I'm tired. I mean, they don't have anything left to say.
Bold statement.
And we'll get for the next however long it takes for that book to come out. We'll get, I love Scott Snyder to death. Really super nice guy, but we'll get to hear him say every day how this is the biggest, greatest, thing he's ever done, because it's the same sales pitch he uses for everything he does. I'm just kind of, I'm tired.
Well, okay. So that's the hype that you object to, but does he deliver? I'm assuming not in your viewpoint.
Did you read All-Star Batman?
I read part of it. I did not finish it.
Okay. You didn't finish it. That says it right there. Right?
I know, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that was John Romita Jr. art, right?
To begin with, then it went off to a bunch of
that's right, because there are different art teams on there. But yeah, that's it. That's why I was done after a few issues.
I'm not I think Greg Capullo is awesome too. He gets me excited about books if I'm at a con and he's there talking about it. Mm-hmm. But I'm not overly excited by him either. So
yeah, well, and so when you were talking about the hype with Snyder, the one thing they point out here, which I find incredibly interesting. Where is it? Oh no, I've lost where.
I do have to admit, I'm intrigued with Joker's head in a jar. Live head in a jar. That does intrigue me.
Well, and it's talking to him, I guess, right?
Yeah. So that's
and so that I'm thinking Futurama, but that might be funny. But oh shoot, oh yeah, here it is. Sorry. Each series will have a unique format and release schedule. Which, considering what you were just saying, I thought that was really funny.
Wait for the trade, kids. Wait for the trade.
To best serve the story and creative vision. Yeah, exactly. That's what
So
okay.
if it's a 3-issue format, you get one issue, you wait 7 months, and you get the next issue, and you wait 7 months, you get the next issue. If it's outstanding, I'm all for it. If it is a unique release schedule and it's a schedule that they stick to, I am okay with it. It's just like all the independent books that I read, they all take big breaks. I totally understand why the people who are working on the books need that. I am all for that they, stay healthy human beings by taking their breaks when they need to or whatever and whatnot. Totally okay with that. But I want it to be scheduled. I want to know this is when it's happening, and I want the book to come back when it's supposed to come back.
Yeah, but what you're talking about there has to do with ongoing series where they put out, X number of issues, and then they take a small break and they come back.
A good example of this is
that.
Right. A good example of this is the Kurt Busiek's Kurt, yes, and the Leon book, the Batman book that they're doing, that supposedly has been in the can for like 1 million years, and it's being delayed months and months. They've had this book done for a while, and I don't understand why now we suddenly have delays. So clearly,
right. Okay. Well, okay. So we have some misgivings.
Clearly
about this,
but for me personally, I'm okay with it being another its own little kind of niche thing. I understand your concern about the grit and edginess. I'm hoping that the creators, with the exception of Miller, will use that appropriately, as opposed to the animated shows that you're talking about that put that stuff in there just for the sake of it being there. In my opinion, that's there to sell a rated R version of an animated thing for you adults that think you can't watch the kids' cartoons that the rest of us love. That's why that's there, in my opinion. So I'm hoping that, the list of those writers that are there, I don't see Kelly C. DeConnick putting stuff in there gratuitously just because they need to have some of that. I don't see Jimenez wanting to put that in the art in there just for the sake of it being there. Not to say that the Amazons won't be brutal and badass when they need to be brutal and badass. They are warriors, if that's the story and whatnot. I don't see Rucka putting anything gratuitous in there for the sheer sake of it because this is the Black Label and therefore we're supposed to. I see Miller falling all over himself for that, but that's just because that's my opinion on it's always been Miller's approach to stuff for a very, very long time. Yeah. So we're going to get a gross Superman.
Well, okay, so yeah, let's talk about the specific ones. Superman Year One. What were we saying before?
Right. What the hell?
Why do we? Okay.
First off, why is Miller still doing books for DC? He must still be under contract of some sort.
I don't know.
Is he like Boston? He still has to put out that one more album, so he's gonna wait, 40 years to put out another album that sounds just like the last one.
Oh my gosh! So we're going to have Man of Steel from Bendis telling his origin from Bendis's perspective, and we need Miller to do this. Miller and Romita Jr. to do this.
Oh God!
I said earlier, how much I love Superman.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I will miss that book. There's no doubt in my mind. That's funny.
Remember how we used to love Miller? At what point did we go, no, thank you anymore?
The more they let him do what he wanted to do, and it just got for me. It's from the Daredevil stuff to the Dark Knight Returns, and then from there it just kind of he embraced certain elements and just continues on with those elements. Mm-hmm. And those are the only elements that he wants to address, and it's cool the first time, right? It's not cool after you've done it the 30 or 40th time.
When you're repeating yourself, basically, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we talked about Snyder and Capullo's Last Night on Earth. Although, again, this is going to be a pass for me, and not for the creative team, but just this description: in this strange future, villains are triumphant, and society has liberated itself from the burden of ethical codes. I
Ethical codes aren't a burden. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
I guess I just don't. I don't care for dystopian future stories, and
I like dark future stories, but yeah.
No, this is. If you read this, you have to let me know.
I sincerely doubt I will.
Okay, and then Batman Damned. So there's two Batman books.
Sure.
That's it. I find that interesting. So there's one Superman book, two Batman books, two Wonder Woman books, and then this other one. So that's interesting that Superman only gets one for this initial release or this initial announcement. Mm-hmm. But Batman Damned is Azzarello and Bermejo's book.
I will get that one.
This is Joker is Dead. You're going to get this one?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is a good team.
Just creator driven. I will get it. I'll get it for the art, if nothing else. And
but it teams up Batman with John Constantine.
Yeah.
Through a Gotham City hellscape.
I don't know. I'm getting it for the art. I'm scared of the story, to be quite honest.
What? Just because of the description, or you have misgivings about Azzarello's work?
No. I mean, I like him on both books. Both characters. Those characters together, I have concerns. So.
Oh wait, we have some comments here from Jack Yo. Mm-hmm. In regards to, I think Snyder. I'm not sure if it's in regards to Snyder and Capullo or just Snyder. Court of Owls was his only memorable Bat story.
Yeah, he's talking about them as a whole. When he hypes the whole hype machine about this is the next greatest best.
Yeah,
this is his best work ever, kind of thing. For me personally, his best stuff is when he wrote for Detective Comics. But
right, which I have those issues, but I haven't read them.
the Black Mask and Skeleton Key stuff. Yeah.
And then additionally, Romita Jr. drawing Superman, Jack asks. I wouldn't read that for free. Finally, thank you, because I feel like I'm in the minority about Romita Jr., especially on Superman. Not a good fit. Not a good fit.
Oh.
And I paid for some of those issues because I was reading the Superman book at the time where they brought Romita Jr. on, after he was done at Marvel.
God, at least there weren't children in that. You should see him draw kids. Oh my gosh.
Oh, there were.
Oh, were there? Oh.
Yeah. I used to like Romita Jr.'s stuff on Daredevil
New Mutants
years ago.
I liked him in New Mutants too. I liked him in both that stuff. But that was a lot of years ago. Yeah. That was the 80s.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, I'll read anything Miller, but the JR is too much. So yeah. I feel like I'm picking on poor John Romita Jr. Sorry.
Oh, well.
And then so the next one, Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazons. This is the Kelly Sue DeConnick written book with Phil Jimenez. Getting that one mostly for Jimenez's art, but I will. DeConnick for me is hit or miss.
Yeah, DeConnick has good things to say. I don't know that she always executes saying what she wants to say. That's where I am. Love her to death. I think she has good things to say, and I'll agree. It's not always on the mark, but the art's going to be.
I have seen something that Jimenez has posted. I think for this, a beautiful drawing of an Amazon. I think maybe it's Hippolyta, but I'm not sure about that. But his stuff is great. Mm-hmm. And then the other Wonder Woman book, and this is just a working title. It says Diana's Daughter. This is Greg Rucka. No artist listed here.
Right.
And so this is a future Wonder Woman story, I guess. A young woman seeks to reclaim what has been forgotten, and on the way will learn the truth about herself, her heritage, and her destiny. I have no interest in that.
I will pick it up because it's Rucka Wonder Woman.
I would have said that before the last run.
Rebirth, right?
No, thank you.
Yeah.
and this is from a person who loves the whole idea of legacy characters, and so this reads to me like this is going to be a legacy,
Is
a Wonder
it?
Woman legacy character.
Okay.
So well, it says Diana's daughter. I assume that's
Yeah. I'm not sure.
Wonder Woman's daughter. So
yeah, I'm curious about that. So that, and I like the Rutka run, this latest Wonder Woman Rutka run. So,
all right.
And I think he's got something different to tell here. Did you like his first run on Wonder Woman? Or did you read any of that?
I'm trying to remember.
I thought you did.
I think so. Yes. No. Yes.
Because I mean,
course.
he kind of bills her as being the peacemaker, and I mean, there's.
Yes, I did read that, and I loved it, which is
Right.
why I was so excited to have him come back on Rebirth.
When he comes back, though, he's got in that case, he had a specific thing that he was supposed to do, and that's what he attempted to do, as opposed to just telling Wonder Woman stories. I think.
Well, maybe that's the problem then I had with it. It was too distinctive of a vision, which sounds just so stupid to say.
So I don't know. I'll get it. I'll get it.
Well, you have to let me know how it is.
Got to read a Wonder Woman title somewhere because I'm not reading the one that's out right now. So.
Yeah. Well, it also depends too on who the artist is. If they bring on
sure.
a fantastic artist, please not. This is not a knock on her, but not Nicholas Scott again.
Agreed.
Okay, and then finally, the other excuse me, the other history of the DC universe from John Ridley. Again, no artist, or is John Ridley? I'm not familiar with John Ridley. He's not an artist too, right? It says 12 Years a Slave, which is
no, he's a writer. He's a writer.
Movie, so I assume he wrote that, and then The American Way.
American Way, which I've enjoyed. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so this is, I'm just going to read this. A compelling, see, this is marketing hype, right? A compelling literary series analyzing iconic DC moments and charting socio-political gains through the perspectives of DC superheroes who come from traditionally disenfranchised groups. Okay. Oh my God. Why are people not falling asleep from that description? Even though I will admit, personally, I'm intrigued by it because of some of these key words. My brain is going, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not a good pitch. The way this is written is not a good pitch to me. But it includes, like I said, traditionally disenfranchised groups, including Jon Stewart, Extraño, which pulling
yeah.
a kind of an oddball and one-off character, but I understand the history behind that character, so that makes a lot of sense. Vixen, Supergirl, which is a weird choice to me, other than being female.
Yeah.
But we also have Katana and Renee Montoya, which I get, among others. At its core, the story focuses on the lives of those behind the costumes and their endeavors to overcome real-world issues. The writer in me, the lover of secret identities over the superheroic identity, should love this idea. I really should. I'm not sure about that just yet, but right now it's I'm probably going to get this.
I'm getting it. There's no doubt I'm getting it.
Yeah.
It's all the right ticks for me. So I mean, unless of course it throws an artist on it that is just like
exactly
disgusting.
If I'm sorry to keep picking on John Romita Jr., but if JR was listed as the artist, it'd have to be a pass.
Yeah, no, I can't. Yeah,
but I mean, there are other artists I don't like either. It's not just John Romita Jr., but he's our whipping boy today, I guess.
Exactly.
But okay, so there's the books that they're doing the Black Label thing. I don't know. So many curated. That seems to be a fad right now, I guess. At least at DC. I mean, well, not just at DC, because we have IDW's Black Crown. There's another one, right? That Karen Berger's doing.
Dark Horse
Berger Books. Interesting that publishers are doing that. I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just interesting that they're doing that now.
Well, some of those are based on a person has a vision of things they want to do, and so that's a way to allow that to happen within that, and that's I guess I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it because then it gives you potentially a sense of what you're getting into. What's the style? What's this person going to be about or whatnot? Kind of a thing. So, yeah, it's another way to distinctly market something too. I guess so. Outside of the whatever, it's all comics to me, I guess.
Yeah. It really does.
End of the day.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter if it's this imprint or that imprint or this label or that label. It's just what's the vision, what's the story, and are we going to get a good story?
Right.
I really don't care who it's from or which person's vision we're following, as long as it's again a good story. So, All right, that's a lot of news, Travis.
It was.
And oh my, it's going to be a long episode. And so just to remind people, because I don't do a lot of YouTube videos, but if you've watched it this long, I'm sure mostly because Travis has been on it. I turn these into I take the audio from these and I put them into my podcast feed, because that's where I put the bulk of my comic book talk, is in the Long Box Review podcast feed, and you can go to longboxreview.com and find out more about that. If you are new to this this channel and seeing me for the first time, or you've come here because Travis is on the episode, which is totally why I bring this guy on to talk about stuff, because
God,
I'm just trying to draft off his impressiveness.
No.
Now we've just in case people don't know, Travis and I have known each other for a god awful number of years.
Yes.
And started our comic book journey pretty much around the same time.
Yep.
So yeah, I like this guy a lot. He's pretty cool. And he agreed to come today and talk for a long time about all this news. And hopefully we'll be able to do this again next month.
For sure.
We'll collect our news and throw our thoughts about this stuff on the way. So
that's because there's nothing else we have an opinion about everything. So
if you say about opinions, right? Anyway, so come back for that. If people have comments about, because people will watch this or listen to it later. They can leave comments on YouTube where this channel is. You can also go to longboxreview.com, because I'll post this there as well, and leave comments there, or you can email me at longboxreview@gmail.com. Also on Twitter at longboxreview. Travis, where can they find Oddfellows Thoughts?
They can find me here on YouTube and at Oddfellows Thoughts. And people should, because you have some very entertaining videos, I have to say. I'm just saying that because you're my friend. And I also want to say thank you to everybody in the live chat for offering their opinions and the information as well, since we did not know some of this stuff. Spaghetti Westerns. Anyway, there we go. I think that's it, Travis. Anything else we want to talk about real quick before we go? Nope.
All right. Thanks again, buddy. I appreciate you coming on and talking all this stuff with me. And that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening in the future. And that's it. Go read some comics. Bye-bye.